Hey, welcome to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby, along with Jeff Gerard, on your place for news, talk, and information. We're talking about your family's finances, of course, getting out of debt, managing money, planning for your future, trying to deal with a crazy time in the world of, world politics and security at home and the stock market and oil prices. And gosh, it's no wonder most people really just say, never mind, shut down and go have a drink, I think. They just kind of avoid it because it can be a little bit overwhelming, not only confusing, but depressing. And those are things that don't come in, that are not conducive for you to make a good decision and a healthy decision. So part of what happens in life is people will choose, safer choices, I guess. Is that a way to put it, where they have less risk of losing their principal? And a fixed indexed annuity is often used as that, as a way to kind of benchmark their success. But more importantly, with all of that, it's to offset the problems that they may encounter when it comes to the risk at work, when it comes to their accounts, when it comes to offsetting the problems that they're getting at home with some of the advice that they're making and the problems that they get, all day long.
I think you're hitting it right on the head. And when we get to this place where there's just too much to digest and too many things to consider when making a decision, people just choose the path of least resistance. And if that means that, okay, well, the easiest thing to do as far as building up my retirement portfolio and creating a bucket of savings for my future, is they just go to their company retirement plan.
Yeah.
And look, that's a great first place to start, but that's not, I have to stress this a little bit, and we've talked about this in the past, is the word retirement plan, that doesn't mean you have one account. And I think it's kind of a misnomer. Right. You say, I have a retirement plan at work. Well, is that the whole plan, or is that a piece of the whole plan? And I think you should really give that question a little bit more thought, because part of what we're talking about here today, and Arif, you brought up a fixed index annuity, that's a wonderful offset because it benchmarks and it credits interest differently than the earnings you can see potentially in a 401k. You don't have the same amount of fees or risk or a couple other things. And not to mention, this is one of those places where you can actually expect a guaranteed level of income. And I think we should talk about that today, because look, a 401k or any 403b, if you're a teacher or if you work for a hospital or a school district, or if you're a county employee, or if you're a firefighter, policeman, something like that, police officer, you might see something called a 457 or a deferred comp. So all of these things are like, well, what do all these things mean? Well, these are just where you can find the name of this account or the subsection in the tax code, right? So if you work for a for-profit company or whoever your employer is, there's rules in the tax code that are built around what types of programs they can have as far as retirement savings vehicles. And look, the key to this is to save often and to save as much as you can without going bankrupt or going into debt each month, right? So putting enough away for yourself is really the key. Now, if you do this through your workplace retirement plan, you might see, and most people do, they see a pre-tax benefit. And what does that mean? Very simply put, if you have a $1,000 paycheck and you put $100 in your retirement plan at work or your retirement account at work, that would not be subject to income tax. So it's a way of deferring and shifting some of that over to the pre-tax side. And this is not a tax conversation or tax show, but just want to say that there are a lot of little pieces here. So going into what might work for you from a simplistic approach is to say, I have a retirement account at work, and I want to start putting money into that account. And over time, you might build that up, but I want you to really take a look at some of the pieces outside of that plan. And I think a fixed index annuity can tie in very nicely to help offset some of the features of those accounts.
Yeah, and so consider a fixed index annuity as a part of your retirement strategy. And just like you said, Jeff, when people say I have a retirement plan or I'm going to retire and I'm trying to save, it's not just one thing. In other words, it used to be Social Security. That was your retirement plan.
Right.
You would, go to work, wake up at 65 years old and collect a pension, if you will, Social Security, which was an annuity, by the way, which is an annuity. Social Security acts exactly the same way. And you would receive that for the rest of your life. That's part of what you would do. Well, on the other side of things, people started saving in company retirement plans through things called 401ks. And then if you're an educator, it's called a 403b or TSA, tax sheltered annuity. By the way, guys, they're the same thing. And that's important because often our clients will say, I don't have a 401k or a 403b, I have a TSA. Same thing. If you work for the city, state, county, you have something called a 457 or a deferred comp, right? So sometimes folks say, I don't have, Jeff, I don't have a 457. I don't know what that is, but I have deferred compensation with the water and power or with the police department. Okay, those are the exact same thing, just called something different, just because somebody branded it. All that to add is that those are pieces of a strategy. That means that you don't want all your eggs in one basket. We've said that for 12 and a half years now on this show. Never put all your eggs in one basket. Never put everything in one place where if the real estate market is up, you're rich, and if it's down, you lost everything. Or the stock market is up, or a client the other day came in, Arif, I have all of my, this particular account, one of his investment accounts, I have it all in this computer company. I won't say the name of it, but they also have iPhones. I have everything in this one computer company, and so I don't know what the price is today, because we were saying, okay, how much is in that account? I don't know. It just depends on what the stock is. Well, goodness, that's a lot of money to have in one place. You know,
It sure is.
Nearly 6 figures sitting in one account that's counting on one company to do well and the news, right? So that's fine if it's a piece of the whole puzzle. So we want to come back in just a minute and get in some questions you need to know, questions you need to ask before buying a fixed indexed annuity. If you're going to use that as a piece, as a part, as a portion of your retirement account, it's usually going to fall down the IRA world, like an individual retirement account that is today an individual retirement account, but maybe it used to be your company 401k or this company 401k, and you took them all and you start merging those together. That's what often is done to help balance one's portfolio. Perfect. But there are some questions you need to know. There's some bad ones out there and there's some good ones. How do we tell the difference?
Well, you have to start by looking at I would say your financial team is probably going to be the best place to go, because if you go to the internet or if you go to the marketplace of information, you're going to see a whole host of things, and really it's one-dimensional information. I believe that just about every financial product was built with someone in mind and with a goal and a purpose, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's right for every single person. And depending on the source of the information, someone might lead with a particular product, whether it's because of ease of setting these up, or maybe it's the compensation structure for that individual. So there's a whole host of things that might be behind the scenes, the reasons why something was introduced to you versus something else that may benefit you more. So I would caution you with trying to do it yourself. Look, everybody's a DIY person. They even coined it DIY now. Do it yourself, this and that.
You can do it yourself pizza. Did you know that?
I heard.
Okay, just saying.
I heard, yeah. But I wouldn't bake a pizza. I'd go get one. I'd go see somebody that knows what they're doing with pizza to make a good pizza. So likewise, your finances, I think, should be in the hands of someone that does this, lives, breathes, eats, sleeps this stuff. That's just really my opinion.
We're going to come back in just a minute, and we're going to continue with some of the tips and tricks I think you need to know, questions you need to ask. If you are in the process of saying a fixed indexed annuity could be right for me, how do I know if it is? We've got that and a whole lot more when we come right back. I'm Arif Halaby along with Jeff Gerard on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Hey, and let me remind you, you can download the KHTS app on your iPhone and your Android devices. And now you can listen to KHTS wherever you are. You can access KHTS news, social media, a whole lot more. And the easiest way to do this is to go to the App Store and or Google Play and click and search for KHTS. That's your hometown station. We'll be right back. Arif Halaby and Jeff Gerard on AM 1220 KHTS. Hey, welcome back to the show. Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Next hour is karaoke. Arif and Jeff. Just kidding.
Arif. Period.
Jeff is my manager. He says we're going places, like the back door, exiting. But
yeah, hopefully back to the office after this.
Back to the office. That's where we're going, darn it. Well, let's find out some of the things that you need to know. If you're going to build your retirement account and you want safety as a part of that, which when we say safe, Jeff, let's define safe, because I don't know what that means. If you're just everyday working person who has money that you put in your retirement account, what does safe mean?
Well, I would say safe is a relative word, but what we can assume in the financial industry is that it means that our principal is protected. And I think that's a huge part of what you have to look at when it comes to the quote unquote safety or the guarantees behind some of these financial instruments out there. And what I mean very simply is this: just for the sake of an easy number, if you were to put in $100,000 over time into a retirement vehicle, I don't care, and we're not talking about is it an IRA, a Roth IRA. That's the conversation between your money and the tax man. We're talking about, did you put money into a CD? Did you put money into a fixed index annuity, a bond, a stock, into real estate? These are the vehicles. This is how your money performs based on that bucket or that vehicle. So when we're looking at safety, things like a CD at the bank, right? A certificate of deposit, not the little silver things that we don't use anymore and our kids probably don't know what they are. A CD at the bank is a place where you can put money and the principal is protected. But how is that protected? And this is why I said safety is a relative word. The banks go out and they buy insurance on your money. So if an institution fails, the people that are depositors, you and I, that have our money in the bank, would be made whole again.
It's called FDIC.
FDIC insurance.
Everybody knows that, yeah.
Everybody knows that. So there's an amount of money that we are guaranteed. So that's where the word guarantee comes in. That's where the safety of a CD comes in, that if we put our money in an institution and it fails or goes out of business or bankrupt, we would get our money back. We'd be made whole again. So that's where the insurance part of that comes in. The same holds true with a fixed index annuity, except they do it a little bit differently. They guarantee based on their business model, not by buying insurance and then saying, hey, if we go belly up, then somebody else pays you. They actually keep the money in a different way, protected from any of the risk that's out there. Now, insurance companies have levels, they have different vehicles with levels of risk, but we're not talking about those today. We're talking about the fixed and the fixed index annuities where your principal's protected, it's safe from market declines, and then they have some other upside benefits as well.
Yeah, think of it this way. You know, when we say the safe indexed annuities or we say safe retirement, we're saying that the principal and the interest, every time you earn it, it's never going backwards. And that's a different concept when people say, oh, I once had 500,000 and now I have 200, or I had 38,000 in my retirement account, now it's worth 22, and then it went back up, and it never seems to get off the ground. So I want to encourage you to have maybe some of that risk. That's fine if that's where your heart is in your tolerance, but also that safety, right? Why not? Wouldn't it be nice? Look, Total Financial Solutions, what's our goal? Our goal is to not make you rich. Oh my gosh, Arif, that's not what my broker says. No, our goal is to keep you from being poor. Any of these brokers out there or companies that say, we can double your money, we can give you 10 or 12% guaranteed, it's full of baloney. In my opinion, it's very difficult, if not impossible in today's environment, to even think about committing to that. And we've seen it. We've seen scam artists like the Bernie Madoffs of the world go out and commit to these rates of return, and it just never seems to go backwards, and gosh darn it. Look, your job is to work for your money and save it. Our job as a firm is to keep you from losing it. That's a different mindset, isn't it? It's to earn reasonable rates of return over time. It's to make sure that every time you earn interest, you're not going backwards. And Jeff said it properly when he said, look, you might want to have those other parts of your life, no problem, but there should be a core. And you decide what percentage that core is, because all of us are different, but there should be a core that never goes backwards. If a fixed indexed annuity is a part of that, you need to know what is the cap rate, what is the top, what is the amount that you can expect to earn in any 1 year. Now, what does that mean? It means that if the cap is 12%, that means you're going to earn between 0 and 12. Every year, you might earn a little more or a little less, but the maximum is that cap. Now, if the market goes up 3%, you could earn 3. If it goes up 7, you could earn 7. But if it goes up to 12 and the cap is 12, that's the most you can earn. In those other investment choices that Jeff was referring to that people might have, and the market does 20, 30, 40, fine, you might earn that over there, but you're not going to earn it in a fixed indexed annuity. You have to be okay with that. You have to say, look, I'm willing to get some or even most of the rates of return to the market, but I might give up something. I might give up a lot. If it's a year where the stock market is 38%, you might get 7 or 10 or 12. That's what you get. But the next day or the next year, if the market drops through the floor, that amount that you earned never goes backwards. That means you never lose the principal, which is the money you put in, or the interest, which is that 7 or 10 or 12%, whatever it is that you made, never goes away. That's appealing to some, and certainly for a part of your retirement account. That's the first question. What's my cap rate? Second, does the insurance company, because these are all done through insurance companies, do they have the right to lower the cap rate in the future? And the answer is yes, all of them do, and that's their little hedge, right? But how much do they do it? And I want to caution you, we have seen time and again that a lot of these insurance companies are built, that are newer, and they build these plans to entice you in the trick in the first year. Oh, we're going to give you, much, much higher cap rates, 25% or whatever the crazy number. Well, that's great. And then a year or two later, once they have your money, they drop it down to 3, 4, 5 or something even less. That's a bait and switch, right? They bait you with one, and then once they get you, they switch it out. Not excited about those kind of companies that have a history. One of the questions you want to ask is, how long has this company been in business? And then look at the historics, right? Just like you might say in the mutual fund world, what's the rate of return historically? Even though no company has, especially in the mutual fund world, any promise that they have hit that or will hit it again in the future. It's just an example of what, under those market conditions, under that economic policy, under that political administration, government impact, all of those things, that's what the market did. Not saying that tomorrow those conditions exist and are the same, but it gives you just a general idea. In the fixed indexed annuity world, it's kind of similar, meaning that under those conditions, what did the company do to the interest rate? Did they keep it high? Did they keep it low? They might have moved it down a little bit if the economy went into recession, but how far did they go down? And did they drop it a lot where it's time to make some changes, right? Or be a little bit concerned if that's the company. So newer companies have entered into this space. They might be great, but I would be cautious on working with them until you see a historic, let's see what they're doing, let's see how they perform. Right? We don't know.
That's right. And those are all great points, because somebody might look really good in this current economic landscape. So the way things are in the world right now, hey, this company has figured out how to be profitable and how to pay interest to their policyholders and to be good and healthy. But what about when things were not so good, like when we saw the 2000 market crash and the 2008 market crash and 2009 and 10, when things were very, very slowly moving and basically hitting rock bottom? What did these companies do? We like the companies. I mean, look, we can work with hundreds of companies that are out there. I mean, in our current relationships with companies, I mean, it's great to have a host of different places you can go and offer products. But we like the companies that have high ratings, A ratings. Anything in the A category tells us that a company has good financial standing. The other thing is that history, and when we look at the historicals, that combined approach gives us a really good look at what a solid company should look like, and that will be there. I mean, some companies have been around for over 100 years, and it doesn't mean that they're necessarily the best because of that, but because of the history, because of the historicals, because of their ability to pay claims and to be there when economic times were bad. That's a huge part of it, because anybody can be good. What's the old saying? When the sea is calm, anyone can hold the helm, right?
Right. What is it? I always use it in the form of relationships, right? The first week of every marriage is usually great. Honeymoon, they call it.
Sure.
Maybe, I don't know how long a honeymoon lasts, 2 years, 6 days.
I'm still on mine.
48 minutes, whatever it is. During the honeymoon period of time, everything is great. It's when the arguments happen or a disagreement. Do you fight fair? Do you what type of person are you? Right. So when things are tough, what happens to the insurance company when a recession hits? Are they fair and honest with your money? Very important. Okay, here's another one. Is there annual reset? Now, what do I mean by that? There are some of these newer companies with very high promises at the beginning. One of the little tricks that we're seeing is they do what's called 2 or even a 5-year reset, meaning they don't add any interest for 2 years or 5 years, plus or minus. And here's what I mean by that. Today, and then they watch the market go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. A year comes by, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and then they reset it. That means for 5 years, you are not earning a lick of interest. Not a good thing, in my opinion, because during that period of time, the company is making money. They have to, right? They're not going to say, hi, electric bill, come back in 5 years and I'll pay you. I'll pay you everything I owe you for the last 5 years. But, or landlord, hey, I'll pay you. They're making money each and every month, and that's good. I want them to stay in business. But they're doing it with your money. So I like annual reset. It's a very efficient way to make money. I think you can still average maybe 3 to 6% over time, 3 to 6. That's a pretty comfortable rate of return to build over time a good, to build plans off of, right in that world.
I think so too, and part of what you have when it comes to an annuity, you have something called a free withdrawal. Because remember, in an annuity, a deferred annuity, you're making a payment, whether you roll money over or you deposit, you write a check and you buy this annuity, you have a commitment that you make, basically, that says if you were to take out all of your money within a certain period of time, you would have something called a surrender charge. Now, the annuity itself that we're talking about today, the fixed index annuity, at least the ones that we work with, don't charge a fee inherently. Now you can buy some that have little bells and whistles that may charge you anywhere from 0.5% to up to 2% in some cases, and we're not going to get into that. But let's just say a very plain vanilla fixed index annuity does not have any costs or fees into it. Anything that is built in, and you say, look, I'm going to put in $10,000. The next day your statement says 10,000 or more. And then at the end of the first year, if the market or the index that you're following goes up in value, you might make some money, and that's fantastic. But if you had to wait 5 years for the market to go up and down, and then say, okay, now we're going to see what type of interest we made, you're still only ever able to take money out based off of that initial deposit or whatever your value is. So in the meantime, you might say, look, I want to take out some money next year or 2 years from now, but you're still basing it off of that original number, or unless you've added money to it. But if you've made some money in that account in the first year on the annual reset that Arif's talking about, now you're spending some of the company's money because they gave you some interest if it did go up in value. So you kind of have to look at that, and we're not saying that a 5-year reset is terrible, but I'll tell you what, when some of these newer companies come up with these, I would even call them gimmicky type of crediting methods, it's a way to attract business. And I often wonder, if they're showing us this, what are they not telling us?
That's right. Part of what we worry about is, especially when folks say, oh, Arif, my retirement accounts, my mutual funds, they have no fees. I go, oh, so when you see the Super Bowl commercial, you think everybody did that for free? Well, no. And then they start kind of figuring it. Okay, but when you call up, a human being answers the phone, you think they have an electric bill? Right? Kids in college? So go back and trust your gut here. Think about this. I'm not saying it's a bad or a good choice. I'm saying just know the truth. Once you know the truth, then clarity can come to be, and you can still make a decision. You might drive a Ford and I like a Chevy. You might like blue and I like green. I mean, right? It's all okay. It's a matter of opinions, but just know the truth. So I'm very concerned when I see companies and, or more importantly, the individuals come and they say, Arif, I have a no load, no fee. Well, look, sir, those aren't the same. There can be anywhere from 12 to 20 different fees in your retirement account, your 401k at work. That's a lot of fees, man. One of those is what you would see, or maybe 2 or 3, but not all of them. So what about the little secrets? And if it's okay, then it's okay. Here's where I'm going with that. If you say, Arif, I'm going to make you $10,000 this year, great, but I'm going to charge you $2,000. I'd say, you know what, that's a pretty good deal. I'll give you 10. I'll give you 2 if you give me back 10. I would do that deal all day long. But don't tell me you're not charging me, and then it gets a trick in a game, and then I have to try to, my gosh, I got to go back to college just to figure out what the heck you're doing. Those kinds of things are a little scary, because it's the old, if I don't know something, what else could be happening?
That's right.
So be very cautious when you're dealing with companies that will tell you they have know this, know that. And where I see the tricks go deeper is especially with spouses, right? Traditionally anyway, a wife will come and she'll say, oh, my husband manages our retirement accounts. Great. Do you have safety in there? Or are you comfortable with this? Is there anything you'd like to make in a safer world? Well, he says we don't pay any fees and we don't lose our money. Wow. can he manage my money?
Yeah, sign me up for that.
I'll take that. So sometimes I know, ladies, you're dealing with it because it's often the guys that are a little bit more hard-headed with it. And you try to say, look, I think you have an opportunity to have safety as part of it. Here's another question I want you to ask. Am I earning interest in an income rider? Rider, which means it's attached to the policy. It's something that you can add, and even sometimes things that you can take away if you don't like it. The income rider, I don't care what they say. Sometimes we've had it where, Arif, I pay $35 a year. Really? And by the time we break it down, it's 2 and 3%. And here's the numbers. We had a lady recently in our office. She put in $116,000 approximately into a retirement account 7 years ago. She came to us and she had about $146,000. So she earned around $30,000 approximately by the time it was all done. Not bad. Over 7 years, you do the math, okay, not bad. When we looked at the fees, she was saying she was paying $35 a year. I thought, wow, that's pretty darn good. I'll do that deal. Except when we called up the company, now that's what her broker said, and believe it or not, sometimes brokers are your CPAs, and that was her case because I'm like, okay, are you good at taxes? Are you good at business management, bookkeeping, or my retirement? So I'm okay. You must be a genius. But a lot of times people will trust the same person or expect the same person to be good in so many different areas. And I promise you, very few people are. And that was the case. And the CPA was telling them, oh, yeah, it's $35. I don't know if they were dishonest or just didn't understand. I don't know enough about that person's character, but I can tell you that when we called up the company and we realized over the last 7 years she had made about $30,000 and she had paid almost $90,000 in fees.
Oh,
that is enormous. The fees to acquire the accounts, the fees with the transfers, the monthly, the quarterly, the annual, almost 4%. Right, you do the math on that, and you're going, wait a second. How in the heck did somebody pay all of those fees over the course of the last near decade? You look at it and you go, okay, well, maybe that's not a good deal after all. Right? So maybe there's a problem where somebody's making money, somebody's buying a nice car and taking a nice trip. That's all wonderful, but
this is your money.
Yeah, who worked for the money to begin with?
That's right. So you either go without it or you put it at risk and somebody else makes as much or more money than you do. Don't sign me up for that one. Let's go back to the income rider because, Arif, how many times have we heard someone come in and say, I have a 7% guarantee?
Yes. So you might have something where an income rider, which is that additional, which is that piece. And if you do, and there's a guarantee that's a part of it, realize that it isn't, in most cases, if not all cases, it is not what's called a walkaway, which means you pass away, here's a check. You say, hi, it's been 15 years. I want my guaranteed 7% on the money I put in. Just give me a check. It's not how it works. If you want that 7% rate of return, you have to take the money in payments. And it reduces your principal. And in many cases, they're charging you fees on a higher number than what's really in your account.
Mm-hmm.
And so you think, wait a second, I thought I had a 7% guarantee. No, that's not the case. It is not your money. It's kind of like monopoly money is what we actually call it.
Yeah. And some of these accounts actually have a free rider built in that says, look, no matter what happens, we'll pay you X for the rest of your life based on the higher of these two numbers. But you always want to make sure that you're checking this out, because if someone tells you, whether it's a financial advisor, an insurance professional, and they say you get a 7% guarantee every year, okay, great. So at the end of the term, whether it's a 7, 10, 15-year annuity, whatever, can I take all that money out, that higher number? Well, sure. Well, can I just get a lump sum check? Well, yeah, you know what? It's probably not as good as it seems. And we've always said if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
The reason fixed index annuities can produce something that sounds really good is that they have a couple of catches, and you have to be okay with those. And that's what makes it not too good to be true. Like if I told you could put your money into an account and the company that took your deposit was going to pay you a 10% bonus and guarantee 7% return every single year, and you could walk away with 100% of all that money at the end of however many years you decide to stay with them, wouldn't you say, well, come on, There has to be a catch. Well, that is too good to be true, and that's what a lot of folks are touting out there, and you have to be very, very cautious with that. So look at the details. Everybody gets a policy that gets one of these types of contracts, and it's unilateral, which means that the company is on the hook for as long as you do your part, which is keep the money inside. Don't take all of it out in the first year. Don't take out more than 10% every year thereafter. And at the end of the term, you can walk away with your money and hopefully some of theirs if you've made some interest. That's a pretty fair deal. But all these other things that you're hearing are pretty much gimmicky.
Yeah. If I have an income rider, do I get the money? Can I just make a phone call and say, give me my money, or give me 10%? Or at the end of the term, can I just get a big check? If the answer is no, then be very cautious, because some of these accounts will tout this 7% or 6 or 8, whatever it might be, but it isn't really your money. So be very cautious with that. Okay, when we come back, I want to get into a couple more things. When it comes to questions you need to ask about the fixed indexed annuity, what's a good one? What is a not so good one? Does it work for you? We have those and a whole lot more. I'm Arif Halaby, and along with Jeff Gerard on Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Go to yourhometownstation.com, and you can go ahead and click on Listen Live, so anywhere you are, and you can also listen to our back shows and pick up tips and tricks, if you will, and it's broken down into podcasts, so you can download a podcast as well. We'll be right back. Arif Halaby on AM 1220 KHTS.